Hi, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Come to you with a bookshelf tour. I'm back in the upper room. The upper room has, as you can see a little bit behind me, some of the storage stuff has reappeared in the room. But we're gonna make do, and we're gonna show you some more stuff that's on the shelves up here. There's been a lot of you that have requested some more bookshelf tours with the nonfiction books, which is, if you follow the channel, that's primarily what I have in my collection is nonfiction. So we're going to get back at that today. And like I said, we're in the upper room. This is the second shelf over, bottom shelf, shelf number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, the bottom shelf, shelf number 6. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first book on the shelf, on this bottom shelf, is by Pauline Maier, and it is American Scripture, Making the Declaration of Independence. And Pauline Maier, she's top-notch historian, and this is a Alfred Knopf book. It is from the year 1997. And look forward to reading that. I haven't got to. That's one of my newer ones. I haven't gotten to that. I've gotten that in the last few months. Let's see here. Next book on the shelf is The War of American Independence: Military Attitudes, Policies, and Practice from 1763 to 1789. And this is by Don Higginbotham. And this is a book that I actually had in my history class in college, and I'll be honest, I don't know if I read the whole thing, but I know I read at least a chunk of it, and it is good. If you look in the back of bibliographies from many nonfiction books dealing with the Revolution, this is almost always cited. So it is a good book here. This is from the Northeastern University Press, 1983. Yeah, so good stuff. Good stuff. Next book on the shelf is by Richard M. Ketchum, and it's Decisive Day: The Battle for Bunker Hill. And this was a book that I really wanted to get into my collection. Richard Ketchum's oftentimes cited in the back of the bibliographies, and I wrote a history paper in college over the Battle of Bunker Hill, and the main idea behind the paper was it a British victory, was it an American victory? And then you had to find some authors that that backed up what you said, and you had to do both sides of the argument, and then choose a side, and it was very interesting. And so that one I always wanted to put in my collection because of that paper. Next book on the shelf is The Ancient Kingdoms of the Nile and the Doomed Monuments of Nubia. And it says, this is a distinguished archaeologist studies the cultural and political history of Nubia, Egypt, and the Sudan, cradle of the world's earliest civilizations, a record of which still survives in magnificent ruins destined to be engulfed by the Nile when the new high dam is built. So this is a little older book. It's by Walter A. Fairservice Jr. And it's a little bit older because obviously the dam's been there a while. And this one looks like it's got a little water, like it's got some water damage from the past. Probably before, well, I know it's before I got it. But this is a mentor book published by the New American Library out of New York, and it is from 1962. So, interesting stuff. The next book is by E. Michael Helms. It's The Proud Bastards: One Marine's Journey from Paris Island Through the Hell of Vietnam. And, I've shared with you on the channel, I don't have a lot of stuff on Vietnam. So this would be one of those, I guess, rare occasions when I've got something. I have very few things on Vietnam. So, anyway, this is let's see, a pocket books from 1990, and this particular edition is 2004. This one was printed in 2004. So look forward to that. Next book on the shelf is the Federalist Papers. Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison. It's selected with an introduction from Andrew Hacker. And so, of course, the Federalist Papers, those are the papers that were put together to get people to want to understand and sign on and say yes to the Constitution, put together by the Federalists. And of course, there was the Anti-Federalists, and they had their whole set of articles that they put into the newspapers to try to get people to vote against it. Let's see, this is from the Washington Square Press, from Pocketbooks out of New York, and it was printed in 1974. So it is a little bit older, and I've got one or two other books on the Federalist Papers that are a little thicker than this, so I'm guessing not everything's in this. Next book is Great Issues in American History, Volume 2, From the Revolution to the Civil War, 1765 to 1865, by Richard Hofstadter. And so, again, just hitting major issues in American history, and you can probably guess from the dates what some of the major issues were. The whole slavery issue is going to be dealt with several times in this. This is from Vintage Books out of New York, and it is 1958, but it's got, if you look in the table of contents, resolutions of the Stamp Act Congress. It's got William Pitt's speech on the Stamp Act. That's at the beginning, and then as you get further in, let's see, examination of the treaty between the United States and Great Britain, 1795, by Robert Livingston. It's just got all kinds of stuff. You get into the slavery era, and it's got stuff from William Lloyd Garrison and the Liberator. Part of Uncle Tom's Cabin's in here. Stephen Douglas's speech. So anyway, it's a wide variety of stuff from between 1765 and 1865. The next one is another Hofstadter book, Richard Hofstadter, and it's The American Political Tradition. It's a vintage book, and it is from the year, out of New York, from the year 1948. So a little older book. And Hofstadter's another historian's name that you see oftentimes in the back of the bibliographies. This is a biography. This next one is a biography on George Washington, patriot, soldier, and statesman, first President of the United States, by James A. Harrison, from G.P. Putnam's Sons out of New York, the Knickerbocker Press, and it is a 1906 book. And so it's a little bit older volume. I have not read this one yet, but it looks like it'd probably be a pretty quick read. Next one is The American Nation, A History, Slavery and Abolition, by A.B. Hart. And this is, let's see here. Well, here we go. New York and London, Harper and Brothers Publishers. And it is from 1906, so another old one. So a lot of these are ex-library copies, as you can see there. Now here's a World War II one by John Hershey. This is Hiroshima, a new edition of John Hershey's classic story with a stunning new chapter written following the author's return to Japan 40 years later. So this is obviously the effects of the atomic bomb. At least that's what I think it is. I haven't read this one yet, but it's got the picture on the front cover there. This is, let's see, Bantam Books, Toronto, and it was printed in 1986. Excuse me, 1986. All right, next one up is Lincoln as I Knew Him: Gossip, Tributes, and Revelations from His Best Friends and His Worst Enemies. Edited by Harold Holzer. Harold Holzer is a famous Lincoln historian. He does a lot of collections, Lincoln's writings or writings about Lincoln. and he's got several books that he's written himself, and I always enjoy his stuff. This is from Algonquin Books of Chapel Hill. It's from 1999, again by Harold Holzer, but you can see there's a long list of books that he's written. If you look at the titles, most of them, The Lincoln Image, Changing the Lincoln Image, The Confederate Image, Lincoln on Democracy, Lincoln's Family Album, Lincoln-Douglas Debates. I mean, several things on Lincoln as you go down through there. Most of it's on Lincoln. Next book is another biography. This one's Papa Hemingway by A.E. Hotchner. And so, Ernest Hemingway. And this is, let's see, Bantam Books out of New York, and it is 1970. And I have not read much on Hemingway. I know I've read a couple of his books, but I've never read a biography on him, so can't tell you much about that one. All right, this next one is 10 Great Events in History by James Johannanot. Or Johannano, yeah, I can't pronounce it. American Book Company. It's an older volume. Out of New York, Franklin Publishing Company, and it is 1887. So you can kind of see the front of the book there. But older book, kind of neat to have in the collection. Here's a book, Kissinger, the Virtuoso of Diplomacy, The Legend, The Dazzle, The Man Within, by Marvin Cabb and Bernard Cabb. And so we got a paperback here. I might even have a big hardback of this one somewhere. This is a Dell book, and it is from 1975, it looks like, 1975. And I am pretty sure I have the hardback, yep, right here. Hardback's right there, same book. So I'm not sure why I have two of them. Matter of fact, that might be an unhaul right there. Wife's always trying to get me to get rid of books. There you go. Napoleon and His Marshals. And this is from the home library. And let's go to the title page. Let's see. A.L. Burt Company, publishers out of New York. It's by J.T. Headley. And I do not see a date. Let's see. Some of this is falling apart. This is an older book, definitely. I can't find, and I don't want to dig too much because I don't want more pages to come loose. So anyway, it is an older book. Napoleon and his his marshals, excuse me. All right, the next one is by Dan Jones. This is The Hollow Crown, The War of the Roses and the Rise of the Tudors. And I know there's many of you that are Dan Jones fans. Everything I've heard, he's a wonderful historian. I believe he's got a show in England, history show, does documentaries and stuff. This is from Faber and Faber, and this one was printed in 2015. It looks like 2015. So I look forward to that. That'll be a good read, fun read, reading Dan Jones. All right, this is The Iron Chancellor, Otto von Bismarck by Alfred Apsler. Alfred Apsler. And so this is an old hardback that I got from the library when they were getting rid of it. This is Julian Messner, publisher out of New York, and it is a 1968 book. 1968 book, and it's a small biography. It's not a lot of detail, but still get you started. Next one is Holocaust Testimonies, The Ruins of Memory by Lawrence L. Langer. And I ended up picking up several of these Holocaust survivor, with accounts. I believe that's what this, testimonies. And so it was really good for my collection to be able to build that up. But anyway, this is from Yale University Press out of New Haven in London. and copyrighted 1991, it looks like, 1991. All right, the next one is The True Story of Woodrow Wilson by David Lawrence. And so we got a little bit older library copy here. It's a hardback. It's from George H. Doran Company on Murray Hill out of New York. And this is a 1924 book. And so this one, again, came out of our library at school when they were getting rid of stuff. Next one is The French Revolution by J.M. Thompson. And lots of stuff written on the French Revolution. It's something I get that in my world history class, and I need to read up more on it. And so that was one of the reasons I got this book. It's from Oxford University Press out of New York, and this is a 1969 book. 1969 book. Next one is The Buffalo Soldiers by William Lecky, or A Narrative of the Negro Cavalry in the West by William Lecky. And so a lot of these guys were guys who got their freedom and then went out west so that they could try to start a better life for themselves. A lot of these African Americans that were former slaves. This is out of the University of Oklahoma Press, Norman in London, and 1967. 1967. Next book, just a couple left here, is a biography on Connie Mack. And don't have a jacket for this one, but it's Connie Mack, The Grand Old Man of Baseball by Frederick Lieb, by J.P. Putnam's Sons out of New York. 1948 is this copy. You'll notice Connie Mack, he was in baseball, I think it was over 50 years. And it was always kind of interesting looking back at those pictures, because you think nowadays the coaches all wear, a lot of times they wear a uniform just like the players, or, some team apparel. And I know Connie Mack and several others, but especially Connie Mack, man, he wore a full suit and a fancy hat and everything to every ball game, and he looked like a businessman coaching his teams. Next one on the list on the shelf is The Legacy of Conquests, The Unbroken Past of the American West by Patricia Nelson Limerick. That was kind of a neat book. I like just the cover of it. I think it was kind of neat. This book, let's see, is a W.W. Norton and Company out of New York, and it's a 1988 book. 1988 book. And it's one that I look forward to getting to. And then the last one on the shelf today is Measuring America, How the United States Was Shaped by the Greatest Land Sale in History by Andrew Linklater. I really like that cover too. I thought that was a kind of a cool cover. And this book is, let's see, a Plume book. Hadn't heard of that one. Published by Penguin Group, and it is a 2003 book. 2003 book. And so anyway, that is the last one on this shelf for today, and I hope to get another video in here, and I'm going to do my Friday reads, and then I'm going to post one of these on Saturday and one of these on Sunday. So I hope you've enjoyed this booktube, just going through the collection of nonfiction books. I know there was a lot of you that wanted me to do another tour, so here's your tour. And again, I'm going to get another one in. This should be uploaded Saturday, the next one on Sunday. That's what I'm hoping for. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.